Well, this would have been a really fun talk about if we didn't see the injuries on Monday night, but it still should be a pretty intriguing game. It's going to have a lot of ramifications for who wins this division at the end of the year. But the Atlanta Falcons at 4-3, taking on the 4-3 Tampa Bay Bucks. They just played each other in Week 5, so not a lot of time in between matchups. Obviously, the big news for Tampa Bay, they lost their 2-star receivers for some time. Mike Evans seemed like the same type of hamstring issue that Nico Collins went out with, so probably a 4 to 5 week injury.
Yeah,
And then Chris,
I was seeing week 11 for Mike Evans
yeah, after their Week 11
after their
bye,
bye. Yeah.
yeah. And then for Chris Godwin, it looks like he dislocated his ankle, so it looks like he's done for the year, and that really sucks because me personally, I don't think he needed to be in that game. I don't think there was
Mm-mm.
a chance for them to come
Mm-mm.
back and win. It sucks. It just sucks. I think Todd Bowles could be on a hot seat. I think his job is up in the air at this moment. Just considering two things, really. The defense, I think, has been giving up a lot of points, but I do love what the offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, has been doing the last couple of weeks. He's putting a lot of points up. I know it was late in this game versus Baltimore that they put up those points, but nonetheless, to lose those guys, to still put up a lot of points. I like Liam Cohen and Baker Mayfield together going forward. A lot of injuries for Tampa, though. Cornerbacks, Jamel Dean's out. Tyke Smith, we don't know about now. Could be out with a concussion. I believe the Falcons are favored by 2.5 points. They did lose two key offensive linemen. We'll see their status for this week. But I think when it comes to the health of teams, I think Atlanta is got to be the favorite, even though they got smacked up by Seattle. It'll be a good game, but I'm gonna take
I
Atlanta money line.
I agree with you, Christian. I actually like Atlanta laying the points here. I
Sure.
like them obviously money line as well.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like last week's game for Atlanta was a little misleading. I mean, Bijan Robinson had a great game. Actually scored a touchdown for them. Kirk Cousins was able to move the ball, but I mean, it was two interceptions and a fumble return for a touchdown that cost him the game. I mean, it was just critical mistakes on that end. I think as you mentioned, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both going down, um, and I think we saw the Tampa Bay running game kind of come back down to life a little bit. Rashad White scored, which is actually good to see. He got a little more involved in the offense, which I mean, it'll be interesting to see how or if there is going to be any change in the split back there. I like Atlanta, with this just because I feel like especially just how Kirk Cousins has been playing this year. We talked about the two turnovers. If those don't happen, they're moving the ball down the field, both with the run and the pass. I think they have one of the best offensive lines in football. So I think up front, they have an advantage. Obviously, it's hard to say you have an advantage when you have Vita Vea, throwing his weight at you. But I think at this point, with who Baker's going to be able to throw the ball to, it's going to be Cade Otton, and outside of that, it's going to be unproven wide receivers, and for them to be able to move the ball, if Atlanta wants to go stack the box, and when Bucky Irving's out there, they know it's going to be a run. If Rashad White's out there, they know a pass to the flat might be, might be the only outlet that he has. It might be a lot to overcome for him.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Christian. I like Liam Cohen as well. I think he came out with a great game plan to start that game against Baltimore. They were threatening to score 17 points there early until Baker had that red zone interception.
Tough.
They
Yeah.
scored on their very first drive.
Two
Um,
two ints, two ints, and three passes.
yeah, but I think from a play calling perspective, Liam Cohen with the guys he had out there at the time. Obviously, I think he had a great game plan going in. Without Evans and Godwin, I think that's a lot tougher sledding. Obviously, towards the end of the game, when they got down by a bunch, they were able to move the ball, but I don't really weight that as heavily. Um, I'm with you. I can only look to Atlanta here. I actually think that the Atlanta loss to Seattle, you mentioned all the turnovers, Mike, and the fumble return for a touchdown, maybe a little bit more deceiving than the final score indicated. They probably shouldn't have lost by like, what was it, 18 points. They probably should have lost by more like 10 or a touchdown maybe. Yeah, I think you can only look to Atlanta here. I am intrigued by the total. 46 and a half. If we think that Godwin and Evans being a big loss, you mentioned stacking the box, Mike. If Tampa's not going to be able to run the ball, dude, how do we feel about maybe an under here at 46 and a half, and maybe it looked like the Ravens were able to the Derrick Henry was held in check for a lot of the game, but he ended up wearing that defense down. Do we wonder if maybe, this is a game that ends up going like 24-13 and it looks like an under would win pretty heavily there.
I like leaning that turtle, and I think also just based off the fact that I think if you're the Atlanta secondary, I mean you're gonna be watching game film, knowing that you have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans likely not playing, and you're gonna come out with teeth in this game. I mean they
Yeah,
got shredded.
Jalen McMillan
They
and
got
Trey Palmer,
shredded.
two guys, Sterling Shepard.
Yeah.
Don't love that trio. Jalen
No.
McMillan, obviously, he showed a couple flashes as the third receiver. I don't think he's
good.
knows
I
better.
think he's good. He's not. Yeah, he's not Godwin or Evans.
He's not ready. He's not ready for wide receiver one status.
And I think just based off the bounce back factor, I mean, I lean Atlanta, and
that's
I
also
think
a
their
great
defense
point.
shows up
At home, yeah, almost 2.5. I feel like that might get steamed later in the week at some point. Maybe grabbing 2.5 now. I don't see any money. I don't know why there would be any appetite on Tampa at 2.5.
Right.
I can only see money coming in on Atlanta, so maybe grabbing the 2.5 now might be worth your while.
One prop I would tell you that I like in this game, especially just based off where the ball is going to have to go for Tampa Bay to move the ball down the field, is I think Cade Otton probably is going to be a big focal point. I'm sure his over under right now was at about 3.5, 4.5. It's probably up to 5.5. But I mean, for receptions, that might be one to target.
Yeah.
And
Rashad
to
White
your point,
catches too, maybe.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued. One thing I like about it seems like Liam Cohen figured it out is that running back by committee. I love the trio. I think they all do different things. Rashad White, Sean Tucker, and Bucky. Bucky's from Chicago. I don't know what high school he went to, but I do know he's from Chicago. I just love
I'm
the
curious.
trio. I think it was Phillips. I'm not